I think we're good. I gave him the thumbs up. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, today the men and women of Headquarters, Air Force Material Command, in keeping with one of the oldest traditions in military service, pay special tribute to Senior Master Sergeant Andrew C. Whitehead on the occasion of his retirement from the United States Air Force after 23 years of distinguished service. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is Colonel Jennifer M. Bernard, Military Deputy Director, Directorate of Logistics, Civil Engineering, Force Protection, and Nuclear Integration, Headquarters, Air Force Material Command. And now please stand for the arrival of the official party and the singing of the national anthem by Master Sergeant Tiffany Porter.
Are you really ready? Ready. Okay. Post the colors.
Colors. Halt. Present. Arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Or arms. Colors. Post. Colors. Colors, sir. Arch.
I now invite Pastor David Dooley to come forward to deliver the invocation.
Shall we pray? Father, we love you today. We thank you so much for Andrew and Heather and their family. Thank you for Miles and Preston. Thank you for what this day represents in their lives. Thank you for our wonderful country. Thank you for their service to the United States Air Force and to all of us. How we thank you for your protection over them through the years. We pray for wisdom in their next steps as they move on from here. We thank you for the lives they've touched and those who've invested in them. We just pray today that you be every part of this ceremony itself, but also, God, their lives beyond here in the Air Force in general and our country. We love you. We thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Dooley. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Now, I would like to extend a warm welcome and recognize Senior Whitecheck family and past. Please hold your applause until all family members are introduced. His wife, Heather. His sons, Preston and Miles.
Whoop, whoop.
His father and mother, David and Vicki Whitecheck. His sister, Erica, and her husband, Josh Homestead. His father and mother outlaws, Mark and Carol Otto. His brother and sister outlaws, Nathan and Jennifer Otto, and their children, Madison and Ethan. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the presiding official for today's ceremony, Colonel Jennifer M. Bernard.
Got to lower the podium. Stand by.
We have the technology. Now I can see over the top. I can see almost everybody. I have little tiptoes there, but good morning, everybody. Andrew, thank you for the honor of doing this today. As I told you before, the words will never express the appreciation for your 23-year career, but I'm going to try a little bit, right? For everyone else, thank you for being here, Honor Guard, and thank you. Tiffany, you give me goosebumps every time, and my daughter's going to be mad at me this afternoon when I tell her I got to hear you sing. To Pastor Dave, thank you. Wow, is that an example to follow? Say what you got to say and move on. It's almost like you were waiting to eat something. Got to making sure the food stayed warm. But thank you for traveling to be here. Appreciate the sense of family that you have with the Whitechecks. And thanks to everyone else for many of you have or are still serving, and so thank you for that as well. So I want to tell you a little bit about this guy right here. And I've gotten to be able to know him for the last couple of years. I arrived during COVID, just like he did, or they did, I should say. They arrived a little earlier than me. And it's a strange time to arrive because you don't really get to know your team as well when you're teleworking. And my previous job, we were touching airplanes and things, so you don't telework that. So getting here and getting to know the team, it's been an honor to get to know him and to serve with him the last couple of years. But if I go back in time, all the way to the turn of the century, you entered the Air Force on my mom's 50th birthday.
Fun fact.
There you go, right? March 22nd. March 22nd of the year 2000. And joining the Air Force to go see the world. And unlike some people that join the Air Force to go see the world and find themselves back near their hometown, you actually got to travel the world. I almost want to turn this so I can look at you at the same time. So off you get to go. You get to see the world by going to PACAF to start out, up at Eielson. And so a pretty remote place in Alaska for those that haven't been there. It's pretty far away. I've only gotten to go there to go to a wedding, strangely enough. So the good news about going to Eielson is that there he got to learn all parts of the age career field, the heavy side and the fighter side, and the different kinds of equipment that goes to supporting each of those kind of mission sets. So he got to learn from some really experienced civilians right off the bat, which is a wonderful thing to do, because then he got that experience on his first assignment and was able to really see a lot of things from there. And when you were telling me that story, I was thinking about how on my deployments and in my time in maintenance, it was my age troops and my hydraulics troops. Yeah, I said that. that really were problem solvers and could figure out how to fix just about anything. I've been to some places where we needed to be really creative in how we got our equipment up and running again. And throughout your career, there is documentation of how you were constantly creative. And the word innovative is woven throughout his entire 23 years worth of records and how he chose to solve problems. He would understand the system they fit within and then get after it. And at the same time, he really took care of people all over the place. So after after Eielson, then you got to go down to Whiteman. And you got to meet this wonderful lady here in the same manner that I met that cool guy I married, in a bar.
Second floor fitters. That's where you meet your
right?
your soulmate right there.
I call that you meet somebody the old-fashioned way, in a bar, right? A lot of people meet in different ways nowadays, but pretty fabulous that there she is in Missouri, and then they start getting to know each other. He's making that nuclear mission happen there at the B-2 base, and then he's like, I'm getting picked up to go overseas. And she's like, yeah, I've been applying to jobs to go overseas, except they were the opposite direction overseas. So off he goes to Kunsan after doing really successful things with NORIs, the nuclear readiness inspections. That's the thing about throughout his career, you can see that he's doing his job really well, and the inspections that occurred during every one of his assignments shows the evidence of how he saw the system, made sure that anything that he was part of, he led his people to being successful in those inspections in many different ways. So here he is doing really well at the NORI, the mission, the nuclear side, and supporting the B-2s, rather unique airplane. And then he heads over to Kunsan, and Heather heads on over to Ramstein. So they both wanted to travel the world. They went in opposite directions. They stayed in touch, and then he was able to get a follow-on assignment from Kunsan to Ramstein. So what do you know? She's already got the house all set up. It's good. It's great there, and he gets to just move right in with her, and then they go get married in Germany. Their marriage certificate, unlike many of ours, their marriage certificate's in 12 languages. So one day, boys, hopefully you can read them all.
Yeah, we'll see.
So what a great experience that is, to be able to join with your soulmate there in Ramstein and get married and be able to continue to have two careers together. When you're talking about the number of parallels between you guys and me and Dave, just constantly amaze me. So there you are at Ramstein, also doing great things, and off you go to a deployment, and you can't tell Heather where you're going, right? Yay! This is before you're born, Miles. It's okay. He'll tell her where he's going now. It's okay. So off he goes and tries to drop some hints to her, and I can relate to this, right? You try and drop some hints like, hey, are you watching the news? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, watch the news. I might have something to do with, that might have something to do with where I might be, And so sure enough, she watches the news and realizes that he was spending a month in Ghana, in Africa, supporting all the support equipment and all the other aircraft that come in for humanitarian aid, and of significance, Air Force One, and got to see President Obama passing by there. So got to spend some time in Africa. So literally gotten to go all over the world. If I back up chronologically, I also missed Kuwait in there, Kuwait and Iraq, and supporting our mission sets in Middle East. So pretty amazing as he heads throughout the world. Comes back from Ramstein, crosses the world once again, and gets to Fairchild as an instructor. So for a minute, Heather went on back to Whiteman for the job, and then said, well, you know, wonderful connections allowed her to have then a job up at Fairchild and rejoin him again. So pretty awesome. Fairchild Spokane's a pretty beautiful place as well. It's almost the Pacific Northwest. I mean,
Ish.
ish, right? So that is actually where I went to field training. So way better than going to, like, you know, Shepherd or Lackland. So as far as the climate goes. So there you're an instructor and helping out with all kinds of things throughout your career. Again, successful inspections, your team, the teams that you were leading got big awards all the time, and you also were able to grow other people and lead them. To me, you have the true heart of an airman that really lives the core values, not just for the sake of getting a cool bullet on an EPR, not that anybody does that, but just the true meaning and living out those core values in everything you do. So then from Fairchild, crisscrossed the country again to Tinker. You got there about 6 months after I left there. So about 5 or 6 weeks before I left there, they had 3 tornadoes in 9 days. So there were some areas that were pretty torn up there. There's some tragic stories out of that, and there's also some really wonderful stories of resilience in the communities there. So he was a big part of helping a lot of places that needed it and organizing other people to help out in some of the tornado relief. Me having, you know, been part of the cleanup right afterwards, it's just amazing to me how people just rebuild. They just get up and do it. So all over the world, you've seen different events and been able to be part of rebuilding and helping out during and after those events. So getting to do, somebody was born back at Fairchild too, but right? Yeah, you don't remember being born in Washington, huh? But you might remember being at Tinker. So then I gotta. To me, I'm always impressed as I look at the number of connections you make throughout your time in the Air Force and your systems perspective and the way that you look at things. Maybe I like that because it works, because it applies anywhere. He's been very adaptable to any environment he's been in and be able to look at, not say like, oh, well, this worked at my last base, so let's do it here. He evaluates the situation and says, hey, how can I contribute here to making the team successful in what our mission set is right here? And how do I grow all the people that are there with me? Whether it was being the Booster Club president, the 5-6 group president, or here as the AFSA president. Just being part of the community he's in while he also strives to do a most excellent job in what he's assigned and how he grows his people. He's been like volunteer of the year. Heather's been key spouse of the year. Pretty cool. You know, just the same as, you know, their commander's spouse wasn't very involved. Like when I was a commander, my spouse didn't live with me, so he couldn't be very involved. I was in Washington and he was in Kansas, so that makes it hard for him to participate. And I had a key spouse step into my squadron, just like Heather stepped in to be the key spouse of their squadron at different assignments. All right, so here at Travis, after Tinker, across the country again. And there at Travis, his flight was able to capture the Gears of Government Award nomination. Again, a team award on the innovation and the success of your unit. And then from Travis, you came here, and during COVID. So, and speaking of during COVID, I was in Arizona when COVID happened, and I had just left Edwards in California. So I had a lot of connections there, and I was hearing the tales of how the impacts of how stringent California's COVID rules were. And so he comes home one day when they're at Travis, and he says to Heather, "Hey, do you mind if we have a wedding in our backyard?"
It was more like, we're going to have a wedding, but not.
Okay.
I'm still digging myself out of that hole. So.
I was trying to put it,
You're
And Heather's like, "Oh, you're just too generous and kind." But it was a lovely, lovely setting for a wedding, and then it turned out to be beautiful to a young couple in their unit that, under the circumstances, needed to get married, and the state of California wouldn't permit most of any other way for them to exchange their vows. And so their backyard provided a beautiful setting that will be memories for that couple's entire marriage and their whole life and their family that was quickly growing. You can add to the stories. It's totally cool. It's all good.
We're freestyling up here. So.
Yeah. Right?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
So throughout his whole career, he's been there for people and he's helped out. And then he comes here and is trying to tackle what several people here in the audience, and my glasses are here, but I'm not wearing them. But, we've all been trying to wrestle with this thing called aviation support equipment. And the Air Force kind of neglected this category of stuff for several decades. And here we are as a staff assigned as lead MAGCOM for something that is supporting the supporting activities of our mission generation. And so many of us have contributed to the progress that's now been made, and we are going to continue to make. I used to call it hugging an amoeba, because every time you try you get around one aspect of it, it smooshes out the other side and somewhere else. And headstrong, he came in and tackled what he could of it, and supported the whole team in doing so, and especially on the age side, but age is only one of the 8 functional areas included in aviation support equipment. And so really contributed to trying to figure out how to make the connections, how to improve the situation, and we're not to get too deep into our day-to-day activities, but we've made a lot of progress. And we're actually now standing up a system of processes and a network of teams to making things happen. And that, to me, is a lot of where his voice has been useful throughout his 23-year career, and you've accumulated the experience that added so much value in your time here. I'm also excited to whatever it is going to be next in your career, whatever your next chapter looks like. I know it'll be hugely successful. But things like when I look at, he was at Kunsan and he was the War Readiness Material Flight Chief. So there he is, that kind of experience way back at his second assignment? Third assignment. I was getting them out of order there. His third assignment.
There's only 8 of them.
Really added value to being here, because then he actually could apply what he knew and how they practiced that. And then he can also bring from all of his 8 assignments perspective into the room, where some people that are really smart in a room but maybe don't have the field experience that he has. I'm not saying anything about engineers because I are one, right? But sometimes we come up with brilliant ideas, but then when they meet reality, you got to adjust what you're doing with it. And he was able to provide that voice of reality before we made any kind of errors in the way that we would design or procure or field something, whatever pieces of kind of equipment, because there's thousands of different kinds of equipment that this covers. So to me, that is so amazing when you have someone who is so steadfast and contributes in such a whole airman kind of way. It's really appreciated. So he's gotten to see a lot of things throughout the world. Hopefully I touched on several of them. He's gotten to see things like Yellowstone. The kids got to see the Grand Canyon a little bit. Pretty amazing in some of their PCS travels. And they know that they're open to, like, the world is their oyster. They can go anywhere and do anything because their parents have led them to have open minds and an opportunity to choose to go do whatever they would like to do.
I kind of just want to embarrass my dad here, but
No, wait.
when he had a Jeep, he was trying to return it and he ran right into a pole.
Yeah. This isn't the roast portion of the. Are we roasting people?
But I'm pretty sure he was able to fix the Jeep. He got it fixed, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yep. See, he's a fixer. He knows how to fix stuff, so it's pretty cool. But you guys are fans of dinosaurs, aren't you? Yeah. Miles, did you know that your dad has his dinosaurs at work, and he uses those dinosaurs as a signal? Do you know what the signal is? No? Okay, well, or was. It can be in his new office, too, wherever he decides to go work. But if the dinosaur is up on the top of the cubicle, that means he's in. If the dinosaur's laying on its side or not up, then he's away from his desk. So people like me who aren't tall enough to see over the cubicles can see the dinosaur.
Yep.
And I think you did that before.
Thought it
short
was
person.
genius, but I thought it'd take off. But yeah.
So to me, that's also wonderful that he brings that to work, his love for his family, his love for his country and wearing the uniform and what we do, and contributing to making us all better human beings all the time. You know, I had a couple things happen since I've been here, and like several members of the team, he'd check on me. Hey, how you doing? You doing all right? You know, the most recent one is I had a little knee surgery in July, and he was like, hey, how you doing? You know, and I mean, when I woke up and saw the message, then I'd be like, yeah, we're doing okay, I think. But you do that for everybody regardless. You make everybody around you better, and that is very much appreciated. And things like I talked about, the system of processes and the network of teams, you could be that voice that brought people together, brought them focused on contributing to positive progress forward and not getting hung up in what we can't do and how things aren't working. Okay, then let's figure out how to make it work. Let's figure out how to make it go forward. So I wanted to tell you all those things. I probably already talked longer than I meant to, just because I wanted to share some of the great experiences over his 23-year career. I'll also tell you that if you get to see his shadow box at some point, you will notice that it is a toolbox with 8 drawers, 1 drawer for every assignment. So pretty cool that he's gotten to see the whole world, essentially. I mean, you kind of missed Australia and Antarctica, but you know, you got the rest covered.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But it is really impressive to see the amount that you've gotten to travel and the contributions you've made throughout 23 years. So thank you very much for letting me be part of this, and thank you very much for 23 years of honorable and distinguished service. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Bernard. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the Meritorious Service Medal. Senior Master Sergeant Andrew C. Wycheck distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Command Aerospace Ground Equipment Manager, Maintenance Division, Director of Logistics, Civil Engineering, Force Protection and Nuclear Integration, Headquarters, Air Force Material Command, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. During this period, Sergeant Wycheck chaired the Aerospace Ground Support Equipment Working Group. He led 7 support equipment sustainment and development seminars, reviving the Aerospace Ground Equipment Product Improvement Working Group. Additionally, Sergeant Wycheck was key to the career field's transition to a competency-based training model. He developed a new career field education and training plan that has been adopted by Lifeline electrification project. His expertise was pivotal to the innovation response to presidential green initiatives. Finally, Sergeant Wycheck represented the enterprise during Agile Combat Employment Integration. He briefed the Tier 3 working group, highlighting modernization and innovation initiatives that facilitate a scheme of maneuver battle plans. His contributions led to him being named the Director Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year for 2022. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Sergeant Wycheck culminate a distinctive career in service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as we recognize the official retirement of Senior Wycheck.
Publish the order.
Department of the Air Force, Washington, D.C., Special Order Number AC-006245. Senior Master Sergeant Andrew C. Wycheck, effective 31 December 2023. You are relieved from active duty as an Major Command Functional Manager, Directorate of Logistics, Civil Engineering, Force Protection, and Nuclear Integration, Headquarters, Air Force Material Command, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. Retired from the United States Air Force effective 1 January 2024 after 23 years and 9 months of faithful and honorable duty. Per Air Force Instruction 36-3203 in the grade of Senior Master Sergeant by order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Senior Wycheck received certificates of appreciation from the current president among the other letters of appreciation. These items are on display on the office floor.
He's like done. Look, wait.
I would like to invite Mr. Tyler Wycheck to come forward and join us for Air Force Retirement and Presentation and Spouses Certificate.
Where is it?
Heather, please present your husband with the Air Force Retirement Pin. This pin is to be worn on the left lapel of your uniform next to your heart, where you can always wear it with pride. It signifies to everyone that the wearer of the pin has served his country well and honorably. And now, a special presentation for Mrs. Wycheck. The Spouse Certificate of Appreciation from the United States Air Force. And it reads, in grateful appreciation that United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Heather M. Wycheck for her commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impacts to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Signed, General David Alvin, Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and General Duke Richardson, Commander of Air Force Material Command. Heather. Heather, please accept these flowers from your husband.
It's like,
And for dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on land and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it live.
United States Air Force, and grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your honorable and faithful service.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present to you for the very first time our favorite age ranger, Senior Master Sergeant Andrew C. Wycheck, United States Air Force, retired.
Whoa! Can I get a DIN star?
Thanks, Doug.
Awesome. Thank you. Man, I'm going to have to lower this myself here.
All right.
Second guessing my MC choice. Just kidding. Okay, great. Thank you. So, I've sat through several retirements, and many times, like the honoree is like, hey, I wrote my speech on the way to the thing, and I always just kind of eye rolled that. But now after like walking a mile in this, you don't know because it's constantly developing who you want to thank, and I just really appreciate everyone coming out here. Big shout out to Honor Guard. We have some new Honor Guarderies. I don't know if that's a term, but it was great. Throughout my career, I always wanted to try to develop people, right? So we could, get the rookie team in here, even though you guys did excellent and nobody probably noticed. But that just really puts a marker on how I wanted to lead my career. Just try to motivate, put people in positions to where they can excel. So that was something I always kind of strove to do. So thank you, Honor Guard. Thank you to all the chiefs, officers. When I got up here, it was like the red carpet was rolled out. Your Chief Harrelsons. I don't want to drop a ton of names because I'm going to forget people. But it was, they were doing everything in their power to help me get to where I want to be. Whether it was making chief, whether it was retirement, it was nonstop, just support. I mean, that's been a trend throughout my career. We got Chief Ward here, Chief Spitzer, I could not be here, standing here, without the support of all the leaders that I was under. So I didn't really have that toxic leader situation. I had a couple, maybe you learn from those people, like, hey, that's what I'm not going to do. But I always had people under me that I wanted to develop and people over me that were kind of taking care of me, bringing me along. But I'm just so blessed to be in situations, to be around just a great set of people. So thank you. Tiffany Porterfield, I think, Commander touched on that. So I had this vision that I was going to get up here with this gnarly looking guitar, just shred a guitar solo. And then I heard her sing, and I'm like, there's nothing that can even touch. Like Jimi Hendrix, we could resurrect him. He could not touch what Tiffany does. So you're blessed with a gift from God, and you use it. So thank you for your time. Sequence of events, Dave Dooley, right? So when we had Preston, we were in Washington. Heather's like, I want to get involved in the church. So we went to a Lutheran church. It was cool, right? Then we go to Oklahoma, and we're in the Bible Belt, right? So we're like, we're going to get kind of involved in this church. Fresh start, right? Large congregation, pretty large congregation. We started going to small groups. So every Sunday we'd end up at the Dooley's house. We ate too much, a lot of brownies. Heather had some epic, things that she'd cook. So she was a nice addition to your potlucks. So when we met Dave, we went into his office. He had this whole wall of baseballs. Man loves baseball, several signed baseballs. I happened to be the first sergeant in a recruiting squadron, and we covered Kansas City. So 2015, the Royals are in the World Series. I have an opportunity to go up and work the World Series with the green team. So we were tasked to walk around and pick up recyclables between innings. So I'm like, hey, Pastor Dave, would you like to go to the World Series for free? And it was like, he's like, I'm driving, we're going. So I was actually just going to send him up there. And he's like, I'm only going to go if you go. And that was like the easiest kitchen pass I ever got. I'm like, I have to go with Pastor to Kansas City. Is that okay? World Series? So yeah, we had a great time. We connected. We got him an Eric Hosmer World Series baseball because we were sitting there it was wild because it was game one of the World Series. It was epic. It went 13 innings, 9th inning, home run inside the park. We saw a guy passed out drunk in the second inning. That was cool. I'm like, you paid $600 to pass out in second inning? But anyway, so we connected, and he was flirting with his baseball, Eric Hosmer, and he didn't want to take the plunge, and I ended up scoring one for him later. But the connection with you all and the connection with the church, there's probably moments in my career early where I was like, we don't need an invocation, it's not a big deal. But that was the main thing that I wanted to happen. I even had a backup plan at Ernie. He was gonna, in case something happened where Dave couldn't do it. So that's number one thing that God needs to be present in my retirement ceremony. So thank you for that. Thayer, he grew out his mustache for me. Not sure if you noticed that. It's epic. Come out here. So he was clean shaven when he arrived. I was like, I missed this mustache, but yeah, thank you. Doing awesome. Wife's not happy. He's in the doghouse. But yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Colonel Bernard, thank you. I gave you the age patch, right, with pride. So COVID was kind of funny. You know, you get here and you're locked up, and, you know, a lot of times it wasn't healthy for me initially. So to the point where I kind of had to take a knee, needed some help. Talked to Colonel Bernard, and she supported
I
me.
got you.
And I knew I had that ability because I had the
got you.
leaders over me were going to take care of me. So I said, thank you, ma'am, for that. Awesome. Barnes, utility player by Proffer. Awesome, killing it as always. Put him anywhere he could do it. Hoover, video, Ibarra, thank you. So I don't know if you heard in the script, my outlaws, right? So outlaws are wanted, right? In-laws, maybe not always wanted. So that was my little running joke. I always told Carol, I was like, what's the difference between an in-law and outlaw? Outlaws are wanted. And she's like, what am I? I was like, you're an outlaw, Carol. So, yeah. So thank you. They made the trip. Nathan, Jen, kids, awesome. Carol's been holding it down. Heather and I went to Hawaii. She was there for 3 weeks. Mark is a trooper. Like, I could not do it. Like, we could not have done this without the support. As a first sergeant, you see the decision you make or who you marry can really just destroy your career. So that was like a real good catalyst for how we kind of met our goals. I can't say it was always sunshine and rainbows, but having a strong group of in-laws and people you can kind of count on, right? So I'm like, hey, we're gonna move from California. What are we gonna do with our dog? Hey, Carol, can you meet this lady at 3 a.m. who's bringing the dog? You know, so it was just odd. So, but anyway, like, they were a huge reason as to why I was able to reach my goals. Thank you, just for the willingness to just support us in this military kind of crazy lifestyle. 8 assignments, yeah, it's been bananas. To my family, my best friend Ed from high school, I'm kind of doing like little squirrel moments, but he made the trip. My early career before I was married, it was kind of like, hey, how can I just do a bunch of foolishness with my best friend? So, and then we got married and started having kids. Yeah, a lot of crazy times, but he made the trip. So thank you so much for that. Erica and Josh. Josh is cool too. But he's one of my outlaws, but Erica, like in 2000, like early 2000, I was kind of making a series of poor choices. And if you don't know my sister, she is like, she'll kick you in your butt. And it was like serious tough love, like you're an effing loser, do something with your life. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to join the Air Force. Dad planted that seed early. He was in the Air Force. He did 4 years. And I was like, okay, I'll show you. I'm going to do this cool thing that changed my life. So anyway, joined the Air Force, and she's been my cheerleader since day one. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know how your relationship is with your sibling, but if I'm texting somebody, if it's not Heather, it's probably Erica. I guess that's unique for some people, but I'm always talking to my sister. So we have a great relationship. Our connection is strong, and I love you. Thank you. Parents, so mom and dad, awesome, right? We had, so there's a lot of books on parenting, and you could pretty much sum it up in 3 words: love your kids. She loves us, they love us, and unconditionally. I remember coming back from Kuwait, we had the yellow ribbon outside. I rolled it when I was young, but now I'm like, that's pretty cool. They put a ribbon out for me, you know what I mean? Now that I think about it. At the time, I was like, I don't want to go here and take this picture, but I get it, and thank you for the support. Dad taught me how to stand at attention because he did this 4 years. He's like, just keep your mouth shut and stand at attention. I'm like, okay, got it. Look straight ahead. And I still got recycled, but we're good. To the boys, Preston is a lot like me. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to raise yourself, like a 12-year-old version of yourself, but yeah, it's a little weird because he does stuff and you're mad. And it's like, that's exactly what I would have done at 12. And he was just he's like a chameleon. Like, he was the ideal military child. I was like, hey, we're going to move to Oklahoma. Oh, you're used to Oklahoma. We're going to California. In the heat of COVID, oh, wait, we're going to Ohio. He's like, whatever. If they got internet, I'm cool. And then Miles was the opposite. He's like an old soul. He comes home. It's like long day at work. He just wants to sit on his couch, drink his milk, and just leave him alone. And he's a creature of habit. Like us moving around, the military lifestyle was not conducive to child number 2. So that was really part of the decision to retire and hang it up. There's probably more assignments. We could have kind of kept the crazy going a little longer, but it was strictly a family decision. Heather, we kind of touched on that, met at a bar, right? Some of the people here were there that night, right? Yeah, kind of funny. Second floor fitters, best place to find your soulmate if you're on Pine Street. So some people been to Whiteman know what I'm talking about. But so she was wearing a green shirt with like slits in the arms, and this was like the most epic come on line ever. I'm like, hey, were you just in a sword fight? And it's really hard to believe that she didn't want to marry me right there. It took a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. You were in a sword fight, weren't you? Yeah. She was trying to battle me off that night. But so yeah, that was connecting, like her willingness to date me, and then just kind of the crazy that we've been living. She is the prototypical military spouse. She knows more about the Air Force than I do. She's like, you hear about this thing, Chief of Staff? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like in tune. Like there was never that moment where, hey, what does your husband do? And sometimes the spouse is just like, I don't know. He puts on a uniform and goes to work. Like she knows. She's engaged. She knows exactly what I do, where I was. She is the ideal. Like I could not have married any higher up. So I love you, and thank you for everything. You're awesome. Thank you. So nice. Okay, so there was always a goal, right? I want to excel. I want to be with the cool kids. Those super stripes, Chief Ward used to call them all the time, right? I got one of the super stripes. Chief, probably would have happened, but it was just a family decision. Could have moved, but it's just such an ideal. And I have such great support here that retiring here, joining the civilian sector, you wonder why I'm not boo-hooing right now. It's because I'm just going to keep this flame going, right? I'm going to probably be a GS something, old crusty with a beard, just dressed a little different, but still doing this. And I didn't think when I first got here, I was like, I hate staff. I'm not built for this. But then you kind of see the impact, right? I get in a meeting with these brilliant engineers. I was like, this doesn't make sense. What about if it's raining outside? What if it's 40 below, blah, 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 all the stuff that I've kind of experienced, like, and it's like their mind's blown. So you're really making an impact on the future. Quick little story. I know Pablo didn't make it today, but he talked about BMT. And I think for a lot of us, when you're in BMT, you have these memories that are just very vivid. And it was supposed to be 6 weeks, ended up being 8 weeks. Because I joined in 2000, we had missed mission in 1999. So I went to the recruiter on a Monday, went to MEPS on Wednesday, shipped out Tuesday. So 8 days from the time I went to recruiter, I was shipping out. When we got there, this was 2000, so it was 6 weeks. You had to do 45 sit-ups, like 36 push-ups, and run under 18 minutes. I did an epic 4 sit-ups in week 2, and I had to pause for laughs. If anyone wants to laugh, that's done. And then 2 weeks later, I got all the way up to 8, which was awesome. And it was like you had to do 45. So like, hey, you're not cutting it. We're going to push you 2 weeks back. So then they moved me to a flight full of special operators, like bad dudes, right? They're going to be PJs, and they just kicked my butt. My back was all bruised because I'm just doing sit-ups nonstop, and I ended up getting to the point where I'm passed. And there was one combat controller that was like the stud among studs. We go out there and run. He would do it in 10 minutes, 2 miles. Like it was bananas, right? But he was like the one that's always just trying to push us, the people, because a handful of us got recycled. He's just on our case constantly. Hey, we're doing this. That's a great leader. I think many times leadership is a lot like love. You don't know it until you see it, right? So he was all in our case. But all he talked about was like, I'm leaving here with 3 ribbons. So he had the honor guard. I think one of our honor guard guys, a couple of them have it. So honor grad, your marksman, and then BMT graduation ribbon. He's like, I'm walking under 3 ribbons. So day of, I finally passed my sit-ups. We're getting ready to run. You got to run your 2 miles in under 16 minutes to qualify for honor grad. But he's back there with the fat guys, right? And I'm like, you got to go up front, man. You got to do your 10-minute 2 miles. And he's like, no, I'm with you. We're gonna run this. We're gonna finish. Even throughout, I was like, I can run fast enough. So I was like, I got him. Just go, because by the book, you got to run it under this, or you're not gonna get that. But he ends up running the entire thing. We do it in like 17 minutes. He disqualifies himself. Something that he was important to him at the time. Stuff he thought about. He kind of put for the greater good. And they ended up, so he disqualified himself. We're all high-fiving. It was a great day. It was very memorable. But seeing that, somebody that he held this deer, and he put it on the back seat for some people that he cared about, which was us fat guys that can't run. But and I kind of take that to my situation, right? I could have kept chasing, but it did not. It was not for. It would have been selfish for me to keep going. So. I appreciate, I expect thank you notes. I'm sure I missed people. I call out a couple names. I see a ton of retired chiefs, and I could not be here without your support. Seniors too, just awesome advocates for me and mentors. Thank you. Over. Let's do it. Finally over. Oh, what's up?
The men and women of the United States Air Force, Headquarters Air Force Imperial Command, are proud to have served with Senior Wycheck and assure him that he will always be a valuable member of the Air Force. We wish him and Heather every success in their future endeavors. Following the ceremony, we will be meeting at TJ Chumps in Fairborn, where Senior Wycheck Shadow Box will be on display. This concludes the ceremony. Please sing along with the playing of the Air Force song played by Lawrence Wiley. Thank you for attending.
We go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. At 'em boys, give 'em the gun. Down we dive, spouting a flame from under. Off with one hell of a roll. We live and play, we'll go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Thank you for grabbing my bottle. All right, TJ Chumps. So when we get there, we're